The following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Listener or viewer discretion is advised. This podcast episode is for educational purposes. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast does not reflect the views of our employers. Where applicable, any allegations are alleged until proven in a court of law.
Thank you so much for watching this upcoming episode. Please don't forget to like, follow, and share. Hey, Ousters.
As always, we are excited to be here with you guys and gals. I don't want anybody to feel no type of ways. We're excited to be here with everyone.
This official season 3 finale. This episode will be released on March 31st. And hey, it's okay. Every year, if you guys have stuck with us into season 3, you know that we will have our official season finale. But the good news is you will hear more from us. But stay tuned because we will get to that. Stay tuned.
Absolutely. So we've done a lot of episodes. We've worked on a lot of different topics for season 3. Well, heck, we do that every season, but specifically to season 3 because this is the season finale of season 3. So out of all of the topics that we've covered, which one was your least favorite?
Least favorite?
Yeah.
I don't remember how many episodes we've done for this season, but I want to say it's maybe 15 roughly.
Okay.
And I have 2 in mind, like off top. And
Okay.
hands down, it's there's 2 of them. And one of them, I'm just like, I'm still disgusted by it. It's the first one is the haunting failure because it was just so sad with London and Devin as products of the foster care system in one way or the other. It was just really shocking to hear that this could be a potential outcome and oddly enough, we talked about this a little bit in that episode, but there was a family in Virginia who had adopted 2 children and was using them as say the word, excuse me. They were adopted 2 Black children in Virginia, and they were using them as basically slave labor. They were sentenced this week to, I think it was life in prison, if I'm not mistaken. Good for them. But it was just, we talked about it during that episode. But that was really hard because, we've had our own experiences within the foster care system, and I never would have anticipated something like this being an outcome.
I'm in agreement with that. Episodes like that are very... I hate to talk about it, but you realize that it's something that we have to cover. We have to talk about it because as long as these things happen, I feel like it's definitely something that requires a conversation. And I think that one and the other one that I felt like was really, really hard to talk about, not one of my least favorites, but hard to talk about, was the one that we recently did, the one on Robert Brooks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Especially after I watched it. I regret watching it. I was like, oh, yeah, I have to see it to really understand because that's me. I'm a visual learner. Not I think that might come off wrong, but I know you understand what I'm trying to say. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna take a look at it and see what exactly occurred. And that one was kind of hard to talk about, and that was among the least of my favorite.
I was jotting down some notes and I was like, that one was a hard one and it was more recent, but I think back to what happened with now we call the episode the TikTok rabbit hole. So you guys look for that episode. It's called the TikTok rabbit hole, and it was sparked by a TikToker, Samantha Clark. She works in the medical field, who was posting an experience that she had with I want to say elderly person, not even elderly, it was a senior person, maybe in their 50s, 60s, talking about,
Right.
the proper way to wash and why this older person felt like it was more important for Black people to wash more frequently over white people. And that it was called the TikTok rabbit hole because she talked about another TikToker, and I don't have his name off top, who talked about the man who was celebrating his birthday at a gas station and quietly disclosed to him that he would let Black people burn. And allegedly, of course, because we didn't have firsthand knowledge of it, but he allegedly would let people in the Black community just burn during fires. And
Yeah.
there's stuff going on
Yeah.
right now. And if anyone has ever questioned why we might have a need for certain things for our community, that would be why.
Okay.
Yeah. So you guys listen to the episode because it's quite shocking. Robert
Yeah.
Brooks was also, that was a hard one, but it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That one was definitely, yeah. I forgot about that one. Girl, in my
Yeah.
strolling, my eyesight still ain't that darn good, but in my strolling, I thought, oh yeah, that one definitely. That's a good one, sis. Thank you for bringing that one up.
Yeah.
Oh.
As many episodes as we have done, like, I don't know how many episodes we have between all 3 seasons, but roughly you could say we have at least 15 episodes per. So we got about 45 episodes. And I still want to say, like, my favorite all-time one was the Brawling Bamas. All-time, and I know, and out of all 3 seasons, that one is still my absolute favorite. Do you have a favorite from season 3?
Oh. Uh, Can I break my favorites into little categories, please?
Sure.
So only because I feel like I have two, and for different reasons, right? So I
Okay.
have the one that in my opinion was the most funniest one we have ever did, right? And I even go back and look at it and I still laugh, right? Like, yo, Jay, you told all your effing business.
Same.
And I love that episode. I love that episode because I feel like out of all episodes, that shit was so funny. Right? Like I look at it, I'm like, oh my God. And I don't know if it's just funnier to me because because both of us was brave enough to share some really embarrassing shit. It's embarrassing. Like you did what? And I take ownership of it. So I love the embarrassing moments. One, I thought it was funny. I felt like it really gave maybe too transparent.
We listen and we don't
We don't-
judge.
Girl, Well, it was a little too transparent.
We know you're
But
judging.
and it was, yeah, well, one of our day one listeners was like, "Oh no, we're going to judge, right?" She probably, we're gonna judge. We're absolutely gonna judge. I love that episode. I thought it was funny and it was hilarious, but I feel like in the times that we are, where it seems to be a lot of confusion and whatevs and drama, I felt like, like I needed something. I needed some good news. And I felt like the story that we did on the young man that unfortunately spent so much of his life in prison for something he didn't do, his release, I felt like that was some good news in the midst of everything that is going on.
So if you guys don't know what we're referring to, you make sure you're following us on YouTube. We go live every week on a Sunday. This can change. We're trying to find the right day and time to go live, but always remember our lives stay on our YouTube page. So make sure you're following us on all the places, because the one Janine is referring to is actually we talked about on a live on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube.
I felt like in this time where there's so much going on, it's a lot in the news that can make you feel some type of way, right? I feel a lot of negative energy. This was needed to actually hear something positive and good. His story is very unfortunate. So I don't want to make it seem like it wasn't a very profound story or that his story was not. It was more of a bittersweet, right? Because he did spend so much of his youth and his childhood in prison for something that he had nothing to do with. But the fact that now they have taken notice, they're giving him a fair chance, they have released him, and he can never get those years back. But the mere fact that he held on to his faith, he did,
No.
he held on to his faith during that whole process. Even when he said he lost it for a little while and kind of came back, it was very inspiring. And I felt like that was one of my favorite episodes. How he still kept faith, the hope of the possibility, despite everything. I was like, yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he,
absolutely.
the fact that he wants to pursue some sort of career within the law field after that, it's just unfortunate that this is the inspiration behind it, because he had this unjust incarceration. I think what's messed up about this, the fact that even though he's feeling like he has this moment of freedom and maybe he can explore his life and move forward from it, I think that they also kind of left him with some level of uncertainty, because it's like, well, okay, we don't know. We could potentially try you again and all this other shit. That I'm like, you guys are fucking assholes. I hope he sues the pants off of you.
I think
that shit sucks.
I got a theory on that. And my theory could absolutely be wrong. Maybe the reason why they did his release upon those conditions is so he couldn't sue.
So he'd feel
because they're saying, hey, there's still a possibility we're still going to try him. Right? I mean, I feel like that's a strong possibility, because I'm not trying to be funny. If I spent that many years in jail, it would be a while. Like, it would be that law degree that got me back in court again. You know what I mean? It would be me helping somebody else.
I'm trying to reconvict my ass.
Not right. Like, I'm not, especially him being as young as he was. He's probably just so. I'm excited for him. I cannot imagine how he must feel. You know what I'm saying? Wow, like how things have changed since he was a kid when he went in. So I hope that he's enjoying life
Uh-huh.
to the absolutely fullest. I'm pretty sure he probably is, because I can only imagine what I'd be out here doing.
Dude, he wasn't even legal. He's probably turning up.
Girl,
Like the clubs are different from how, like, do you go clubbing? How's clubbing now? Like, I don't even know what that looks like. Can you imagine, like, our experience of clubbing versus what his would look like? Oh, is clubbing even a thing?
girl, no,
Or
I don't
not?
know. I don't know. Let me not say that. I don't know. And then the other thing I think about too is dating. Dating. This poor dude. If it's tough out here for us people that have been free all this time.
Well, I can't imagine they didn't find a way. Because I don't know if you know this, or I don't know if it was the same and you when you spent some time in group homes, but the guys in the prison used to call the group home where I lived in, and then I don't know how that happened, but people would have like prison pals on, not prison pen pals, prison phone pals. Somewhere along the line, someone got the phone number to the GH, and some ladies had phone pals. So where there's a will, there's a way. I can't imagine I don't know.
He did have some type of relationship outside of
Do they not?
her. I don't know. Girl, I had to put some gloss on for that one. I could have.
Maybe like,
He probably.
wait a minute. There's
You
a
know-
will, there's a way.
I don't tell you what I think. Say that I'm gonna pursue. His ass gonna be blood. I should kept my mouth shut.
Well, I don't know what his first priority would be, but that might be pretty high on the list.
In my opinion,
Oh,
if-
no.
I mean, everybody out had to play DJ, right? I mean, that's a long time to play DJ. That's
Yeah.
a long time
Yeah.
to play DJ.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be a priority. I'm just saying, if I feel like if the roles are reversed, it might be a priority for me because I don't know. We're this is going down a road I wasn't intending. I was thinking of like, well, what if, like,
Girl.
okay, we're just gonna, we'll leave it at that. But you know what's funny? One of my other favorites from this season is really the breakup revenge one. It's kind of up there with our embarrassing moment because some of the things that we did. And you know what's funny? I was talking to Q. Was it Saturday night? Friday night. I had him laughing because I was telling him about the phone call to the job. And you were like, broken up 2 marriages that day. You know what made me think about it? We were listening to Jasmine Sullivan. It was like, bust your windows out your car. And it just took me to that moment. Shit. I was like, do you know I did?
Put that car in a lake, honey.
I mean, listen, not for nothing, but gentlemen or people in relationships overall, you gotta be careful about what you do to people. And I'm not saying like everyone's crazy, not crazy. Okay, whatever. Sorry if I used the wrong word. But you have to remember that how you treat people is important. So like if you want to break up with someone, do it the right way. Don't be going out here cheating because guess what? You're going to have some unintended consequences of that. And depending on the other person and where they are in their life, you might have some busted up windows or some eggs on your car. I mean, come on. And girls.
Let's say crazy, right? I don't want to say crazy, but I think any and everybody, anybody, have pushed to a certain point, and that level is different for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And I think growth plays a part into that as well. Because what I would do in response to something 10, 20 years ago would not be my same response to it now. I feel like your level of what your reaction and how you handle a certain situation definitely differs after maybe more elements, after age or experiences or even kids, right? So I definitely probably would not recommend the sugar in the tank
Oh
at
no.
my age, right? I, I love you so much.
The reason why I said this is I've seen some moms, or I've heard of some moms that have done some random thing in the midst of a breakup.
Definitely, I would not do sugar in the tank.
Mhm.
If I felt like I was being played or somebody was playing with me, I would block them. Hell, sometimes you ain't even gotta do nothing to me and I'll still block the fuck out you. Like, right? Cause
Mhm.
I'm getting a level of I'm uncomfortable with this.
Yeah.
I don't feel good right here. This right here, it's not working for me. So that's how I would handle it now as an adult. And depending on what you mean to me, I might even address it, right? Verbally address it,
Yeah.
which I think is, I told you, I even walked away from some stuff that back in the day I would have never walked away from. Oh,
Yeah.
this is where you want. Oh, really? That's how you feel? Well, let me tell you how the hell I feel. But now I'm at a level where I can walk away. But I do agree that that episode was
Mhm.
that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was definitely fun. And it also showed how we grow as individuals, right? Because, like I
Absolutely.
said, some of that shit, I would never do now. Kids and divorced and relationships later, I would never do that. I'm like, oh, you can kiss my ass.
Yeah.
That'll be it,
Yeah. I think
right?
that as we grow, we have a better, and this is not for all people, I'm sure, because everyone grew up differently. But as we grow into ourselves and into our self-worth and stuff like that, that makes us move different. Um,
Yeah.
I would say, like for me, I'm sure as hell went to therapy, and I even went to group. I went to group therapy that helped me do like figure out how to set better boundaries, so I wouldn't get like explosive when I feel certain things, So like there is, I think, and I don't know if it's the same for men. You guys can say how it is for you, but I think for women, as we start to grow into who we feel like we are, and that doesn't always happen. That's a process. I don't think it happens in our 20s. I don't even think it happens in our 30s. I think it starts to happen more in between 30s and 40s where we start feeling and know that that does change because of motherhood. I think when you're a mom, it changes you. I don't know if it's the same
Oh,
for
ain't no
dads.
thing. But being a mother,
Changes
okay.
how you move, but it also impacts how you feel as a person because you are more focused on rearing this little life into adulthood. So it changes. Hey men, what does dad life look like for you guys? I just know for like women that can kind of, I think it happens later in life because of children and shit like that. In my humble opinion. But that's, I think, is when we start to shift and say, hey, I'm not doing it how I did back then. You know, when we're younger, we're immature. I did some real immature things in my 30s. Flinging cologne bottles across the room. That ends in a nice big fat whelp on somebody's neck.
I definitely
do that
did some
now.
immature shit. I've did some immature shit in my 40s.
That's have I. But which led me to, hey, let me go ahead and do this group session. True story. And I won't talk about that on this. And it wasn't even that kind of relationship. It was a different kind of relationship. So, yeah. I wonder, like, for guys out there, like, what does it kind of look like for you as you, this is a totally different conversation, but what does it look like? When do you feel like maturity really happens for men? You know, how does parenthood affect or self-worth, maturity and self-worth? Because I think it kind of correlates. I'd be interested in hearing that from a guy's perspective. Yeah. So, gentlemen, holler at us. We'd love to hear it.
I agree.
Yeah.
But not everyone is changed in a positive way when it comes to parenthood.
Fair.
And that's just the truth of it. Some people are impacted in a more positive way. Like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not gonna be in the street. I don't know if I had shared this story with you, but like before I had my oldest son, right? I was always hanging out. Like you saw me a lot, like wherever there was a bike show or a car show or we in the club, right? Like, do people still do clubs? I might be telling my age, right? So we're in the club.
Dipping and doing it.
Too much. But anyway, beside the point. The point is, you know, I was in the club, I was out. Like you saw me out like on the weekends, like me and my big cuz, like we was out. Right. But not like out, right? Because I think out for the streets mean a whole lot something different than when we were growing up, right? Because we used to be out, like we had fun.
Yeah.
Within reason. We was I feel like because of our upbringing, we were more aware.
Yes.
Right?
It was a different time though.
I definitely want to say we had our fun, we did our thing, we're out there, but I remember after I had your oldest nephew from me, I wasn't out no more. Did go out. I went to, girl, I don't even want to say where I went because then I'm really going to be telling my age. But I went to a really big block party. I call it a block party.
Okay.
And they've actually made documentaries about these block parties, but that's beside the point. The point is, I was hanging.
I know.
I was hanging, right?
It's not coming to
Okay,
mind.
so I'm out and I'm with the bike and I'm talking about like motorcycle bikes. I'm having such a good time. And I remember I saw something that really impacted me. And I remember I couldn't wait to get home to my kid. Like, you know what? I'm in the wrong place right now.
Yeah.
Right. And so someone that used to see me out all the time, used to see me out riding bikes, used to see me out, you know, in whatever the new spot was to be in, we would all be out there. And he saw me one day and I was at the grocery store and he was like, yo, hey, what's up, shorty? But they call people shorties then too, you know, that might be telling something about my age too, right? Okay, but anyway, back to the moral of the story. The moral of the story was like, he was like, yo, I don't see you out anymore. He was like, where you be at? You must got you a man. And I was like, I do. As a matter of fact, I do. And I told him my kid's name. And he's like, oh, you know, who's that? My kid.
Yeah.
I do got a man in my life. And he keeps me pretty busy. He keeps me home most of the time. Hell, it's hard to find a babysitter just to go to work, let alone to hang out with y'all. So not everyone that becomes a parent gets a positive impact. I feel like it was a positive impact for me. I feel like that shit saved my life, child.
I mean, that's so true. Like, I mean, this is not episode, right? But you know, we're talking about breakup revenge and how maturity will play how we would handle certain things and what goes into
correct
becoming mature as a woman. Like, how do women evolve into where we feel mature enough to not have to bust windows out of a car,
put it in a lake. Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know if you. I'm gonna take that out because I don't really know what that's about. Oh, I don't know. Really? Okay, I don't know. I mean,
I've never put a car in a lake. It's
I
just
was
that
like,
song. That
oh,
song.
is
I've
there a line
never
for
put a car in a lake. There's a song, and I think it's by. Oh my God. I think there's a song where the chick actually put the dude's car in a lake.
It's like, I don't know what's
There's
happening
a song
right now.
about it. I never put anyone's car in a lake.
There's a reason why I'm looking like, I don't know if you would. Not something I've ever done or Janina's done. I've heard some stuff in my life. That's why I was like, please don't tell me you're confessing this. But
Good.
oh wait, there's a song, people. Which did not know about.
I'm trying to find the song, but it's a line in there where she says you put the fucking car in a lake.
Really? Oh my God.
I can't remember what song it is. Like, I'm over here trying to Google it so I can find it, but I want to drive my car into a lake. Like, I promise you, it's a part of a song. I wouldn't. I know I've done some fuck shit, but I ain't never put nobody's car in a lake. Now, that I ain't never did. Yeah, that I never did. No wonder you were like, huh?
I was like, oh no,
She gonna go to jail.
What? Offline conversation. I think that my imagination may have just went a little wild. Like, holy shit!
I could not believe that that's what it sounded like. Like, no, I have never put anybody's car in a lake.
Okay, I was thinking, wow, that's fresh. I couldn't see you doing some shit like that, but okay, fine. We've done some crazy, like, different things when it comes to being angry. I think about the episode will be the episode before this one. And I think Puppies and Plots is a really great episode because we did have our season 3 guest, which was amazing. But I really thought the Stranger Things episode is going to be kind of thought-provoking, making people think about life experiences and the strange thing that can happen.
I agree. I especially for people that have experienced certain things that they just cannot explain.
Yeah.
I think that's what changes the dynamics, is that we want to have answers to things. And when it's something that we cannot explain or justify, that's when it's like, wow, that is the strange thing. But for me, I want to get an understanding. I want to know why or how, or sometimes hey, did that happen?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And it's different when, like, the situation that you felt brave enough to share, because it was brave to share what you witnessed, right? At least in your experience that you had, you wasn't the only one to witness it, right? So that makes the dynamics different, because you can say, okay, it's not me.
Yeah.
You have the luxury of being like, yeah, that's not me. That's not me because I'm not the only one seeing this shit. But think about people that have seen really strange shit and probably been scared to come forward because they're like, no one's with me. Who in the is going to believe this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has to be, and now that I think about it, even though this is not the topic, but I think about it, I can't imagine what that's like. Could you imagine seeing something like what you saw or having certain experiences and not being able to discuss it other than maybe if you get a therapist,
Yeah.
but not being able to share that experience out of fear? Like, people are going to think I'm fucking crazy if I tell people that I saw this shit driving in my car by myself. They're they're going to damn put me in a straitjacket and send me to whatever mental institution is in their area, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know in New York they used to say Bellevue all the time. Man, they're gonna have your ass in fucking Bellevue. You better shut the fuck
Oh,
up.
I know. The loony man, as they used to also
Like,
say
hey,
back then.
listen, like, and that might be telling something about my age too, because I don't even know if Bellevue exists anymore. But that's what's the saying back then. Oh, they don't have your ass in Bellevue.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I'm like, that has to be even more difficult to process those type of things when you don't even
Yeah.
have anybody else that can confirm or deny. You probably be running around here thinking that you're crazy and you're not. You saw what you saw.
Oh no. And there was something else that happened that it would have fit within that. And I was just like, I can't share this because it's a only me experience. Very.
See? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like when it's just you, you're like, the hell?
Yeah, it has scared me ever since. So when I get certain things happen, I'd be like, no, I don't remember that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree. I think that is the most thought provoking. And the funny thing about that is that everyone's different in when it comes to their choice in faith and how they want to perceive it, right? But I think sometimes a lot of the things that we can't explain, we're just maybe never meant to. If you can kind of come back to your faith and kind of understand, like, maybe you're not meant to understand this and maybe right now, but you will eventually. Because there's things that I still question. I'm like, I still don't get that shit. But I think of it long. I think that's where your faith can come in. And, again, everyone has a different way of perceiving it, how they want to look at it. But a lot of those unexplainable things you can help get answers in it if you lean back on that, is my thought. Now, the UFOs, that's a different story. I mean, I don't even know. That's a weird one. I don't know how faith applies there, but yeah.
I don't know how it applies there either, but this is what I will say. Somebody that I used to conversate with a lot, they said something to me that was very thought provoking, and I don't know if it explains it, but maybe it can give us a little level of comfort, maybe is the word I'm looking for, right? Is that just like we have our stories of creation, right? It doesn't mean we are the only creation. We just know our story of creation. You know what I mean? Like I believe in God, right? So just like God created here, who's to say he has not created other theirs, if that makes any sense. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, because I was gonna say this, but I don't know. I never mind. Maybe I'll talk about that later. But
I think
it is what it is.
there's things, yeah. But I agree. I think that's probably the one that can. I don't know if it would help people, but just know that with those unexplainable times, we just need to rely on faith to help get those answers. And maybe you're not there yet. That's okay, because everyone's at a different place, and what that looks like for you, it's gonna be different for me, but that can help explain some things. But that episode is right before this one. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that. And it's called Stranger Things, and it's coming out on March 24th. So even though this is our season finale, like we said in the beginning of the episode, you will still hear from us because, we are going live weekly. Right now it's Sundays at 6. That might change, but you will still hear from us in that sense. And then, of course, we do have we're calling it a series. We have a series that we're going to bring forth that we can see bringing a couple of segments within it. But we do have that coming, and you will hear more about that on one of our lives, if you want to kind of shed some light into that.
Yeah, sure. So this is another, in my opinion, this is another one of those along the same lines of what we were talking about earlier about listening and sharing some positivity in a time that there is a lot of change, and in my opinion, a lot of dangerous change. Sometimes I don't know if we are moving in a forward state or if we are moving in a backward state. What I do feel that we need is definitely history.
Uh-huh.
History is so very important. And I remember there was a point in my life, I hated history. I absolutely hated history. I was like, now, why are we doing this again? And I'm not going to lie, honestly, but because I was young and I was naive. Now that I'm older and I've had some growth and I have children of color, I have never in my life felt more of a need to know history.
Yeah.
And so this right here, this project that we are working on, I feel like it's going to be so needed now because a lot of things are, I don't want to say being erased, because as long as we have the knowledge, it can't be erased, right? But as things change, we cannot forget everything that took place before us. And so I feel like this will definitely be along the lines of some positivity, which we definitely need, and definitely some knowledge, because knowledge is power.
Yeah. And, you're right. Like, if the knowledge is there, we can't be erased, but they're trying to remove access to that knowledge. And the key places where we might learn that, or our children might learn that. I think we kind of, this isn't a political conversation. It's not by any means. But we already know that there's a lot of things that have already been, the narrative was changed to suit what sounds good, not the reality of things. So there's a lot of things that we already don't learn in our schools. And I'm deeply, deeply embarrassed by this. To give you the example is, like, I didn't really know that Tulsa happened in real life. So I'm deeply embarrassed by this. I wasn't taught that in schools, and maybe it's where I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't, I know that that's not something I ever learned, but I learned it when I was almost 40 something years old. So that is it. I'm embarrassed by it. And I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? I mean, I would think that that's something people might want to know. But that's just one example. And there's other things that we could talk about, but we don't want to take away from what we plan to do. But there's a lot of stuff that's missing from the history books. And sometimes there's also little known figures that made really big changes just by one small action. And that's something that I hope that I don't know if how we can highlight that, but just think Rosa Parks in one moment. One moment she said, I ain't fucking getting up today. I don't. And just
My
like
feet
that.
hurt. My feet hurt. I ain't getting up.
So
I'm sorry.
like with Emmett Till's mother making the decision to show her son in the manner that he was
Oof.
like
Mm.
as a mom, as an aunt, like that's a lot. There's these moments that happen in life that can pave the way for change. And her making that decision, as difficult as it was, did that help change people's mindset on what segregation in the South looked like? Did it drop like a breadcrumb for those who needed it? We're still kind of figuring all the ins and outs of how we want to work it, but we want to make sure that we are highlighting our history for the adults in the room. And for the adults in the room, if you want to share that with your kids, as long as it's age appropriate or in a way that's age appropriate. Like, I'll give you something that, like, my youngest, we were watching an episode of 911. And in this episode, there was a guy who, he's a community activist, and he had invited someone into his home that would be considered a criminal in the eyes of the law. But the person was, one, unjustly accused, and then also another community activist. And his wife is a police officer. Anyway, that's 911, whatever. You guys watch that episode. But I was trying to explain to my youngest, like, hey, listen, the one side may look at it as if, and I use Martin Luther King and the protests at the bridge. We were just talking about this week. So it's kind of like, oh shit. So the protests at the bridge. So the police might look at them and then arrest them and then label them as a criminal. But is it criminal to protest peacefully? What was really criminal when they protested in the diners in Greensboro? It might be labeled as criminal, but what was more criminal? The fact that you were sicking dogs on people, or you were lighting, like, fire hosing people for peaceful protest? So it's kind of, that's why this is important. The people who led the way within the civil rights movement, for some, could be labeled in one way, but for the people who needed that equal playing ground, even think about the episode with the guy, with the firefighter saying, hey, look, let people burn. So if you don't understand why this is not a political conversation, and it is a conversation that's important for our community, let these things that we are going to leave you with help you understand that this is not a joke for us. This is not a joke. When that senator asked if it was important, not political, if he asked if it was important of the firefighter arriving to your scene, if it was important what he was, it would have been important back then if he was a person who said, well, your life isn't as valuable to me. Let's not pretend that shit ain't true. Robert Brooks' life wasn't valuable to the people who took it. George Floyd's life was valuable to someone, and that man felt like he was important and had the right to take his life. So this, again, is not a political conversation. This is a conversation about our people and how people perceive our families, our loved ones, our children, our spouses. Like, this shit just ain't okay. And the fact that people want to take it away is or hide it or pretend it doesn't exist. It's very profound. And if you talk to women, I think that's why this first segment is important, that it's women, because women, the women I talk to, the women you talk to, we all see it. The men don't. Men don't.
You don't think so?
Not all of them. No.
I don't know if I can agree with that. I think there are definitely men that see it. I absolutely do. I talk to them, I work with them, I see them. And so I know that there are definitely men that see it, that are very supportive of um how am I trying to say it? Because I don't want to, again, I don't want it to be
Our people
political,
sometimes
right?
don't even see it. Girl,
I agree. I agree. I think one of the things that we can add when it comes to, I don't know how we can incorporate that, but I think a lot of events that had taken place that also contributed to history, I definitely feel like we should talk about some of those as well.
yeah.
If, events like the story that the movie Mississippi Burning is based off of. Like
So
the events that, you know what I'm trying to say? I think part of the reason that they don't want to talk about it is because they can't handle the reality of things. They can't handle and don't want to acknowledge truth. I listened to somebody, and I don't want to make it political, but I remember listening to this person. I won't say who it was I was listening to,
okay.
but I was so offended by what she was saying. And she was technically a woman of color, technically. But she definitely was on the good path, like our mother.
Okay. Gotcha.
She was of Indian heritage, not like Native American, like
I gotcha.
India. And what was troubling some to me, because from my understanding, this person does intend on running, but just stay with me.
Okay.
What really bothered me about what she said as a parent, I was like, that's absurd. She said, the reason why they don't want to discuss some of the history is because it's like us telling our children these negative things. Like, they are not as good. They are not perceived this way. They are not perceived that way. What her claims is that by talking about certain things that happen in history, that we are setting them up as a disadvantage because they are seeing themselves as different. It's kind of how she was trying to manipulate the situation.
Who was she referring to? People of color children?
Yes, like certain things in history is that we would be. In other words, she tried to put a self-esteem spin on it, and she said not just us, but even Caucasian children, that would be making them feel like, how how they would perceive it, how they would perceive their history, or how Black people would perceive their history, how these children would see things. And the part that troubled me the most, as someone did say, if it's cold outside, and as a parent, you know it's cold out this door, you're going to tell your child, put on a coat. And I could be wrong, because we did discuss this earlier, that not all parents move the same. Not all parents have a look at things from this one way or the other way, or sometimes it's not positive change. But don't you want to prepare your children?
Hell yeah.
If it's cold, you're not going to send your child out with a coat. You want them to go outside in the cold and realize it's cold, and then them go out in life or out in this weather unprepared. You have to send these kids out there prepared. That's what I want to do. I don't want to send them out there unprepared. And I feel they're setting our kids up to go out there and face people unprepared.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, the real world is not that we don't see color. And if anyone is telling you that we don't acknowledge our differences, they're a fucking liar.
We do. Yeah, I agree. And I get why people might say that. And, even I never realized how it would be considered a microaggression. That comes from like learning curve. But I have always looked at like our family's always been so diverse. So for us to say like we don't see color, I think it would be different. But when we say that, it would be more to the sense of we don't see color in how we treat people. But there are people who do take, like we understand that someone might say that, and that's might be where they're coming from. But our experience says that there are people who would see color and use that as a basis on how to treat you. We know that it happens. It's not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of, I think who says it counts. I think who says it counts. But we know it's, and for someone to say, well, you're setting kids up for failure. But what I say is, this is how you prevent it from happening again. If you sit your kids down and say, starting them when they're younger, when it's age appropriate, these things happen. But we talk about it not to make you feel bad about yourself and who you are. We talk about it so that way we can prevent this from happening again in the future. That's the true intent of history. Hey, look, why do we even have history as a segment for learning? Why? If it's portions of it and not the whole truth is going to be disclosed. What's the purpose of this class if we're not going to give someone the honest truth? The purpose of it is so shit doesn't happen again.
Everybody's faith is different, right? But I know we have had conversations, you and I, right? Where we find that some people even do that with religion, right? They don't want to take the whole Bible. They only want to take the parts of the Bible that's going to apply to what it is they're trying, whatever message or whatever agenda that suits them in the moment.
Yep.
And I feel like that's exactly what they're trying to do with history.
Well, think even with the Bible in slavery days, what did they do? They taught a different Bible to the slaves because they couldn't have these slaves thinking that, oh shit, we can be free too. How about that?
How profound. Well, that definitely falls along the line of trying to keep them uneducated and not being able to read.
I mean,
I think that's another thing that's troublesome to me, as a mother, is that some of these kids don't even realize. As a parent, like, as much as you try to instill certain things in children, you have to realize that they don't see it the way we see it because they were in a different generation, right? I'll use our grandmother. I'll use our parents maybe even, right? Education to them was important and it was a privilege, right? Because not long before they were parents, education was limited to some. Some people had a better education than others, right? Yeah. Some people had access to schools and some did not, right? So I think a lot of times
too.
The quality of schools.
Yep.
Now I don't know if there's the same push for education. As a matter of fact, I remember one time even being mad as fuck. I remember being so agitated because they was telling these kids, "Oh, you really don't need to go to college. You really need to get a trade." Are you telling your fucking kids that shit? Are you telling your kids not to go to college? Are you telling your kids to pick up a trade?
It depends on the kid.
And it's true.
One of the two. One of the two needs to happen.
I was going to say it's true. It's true to a degree.
It is very.
Because some people go to school for years, have a very good college education and still can't get a job. However, they're more likely to get a job than you that only got a trade.
It depends on the trade. There's some trades that you can make a very good living on. But I think part of, not all of, but part of the reason why they're making a push for other things is because there's not enough skilled tradesmen or women. That's just the term. There's not enough people skilled in those trades. And now that's why they might be making a push towards in this other direction. I know in the state that we are in, there's not enough licensed electricians, and a lot of them are retiring. So, is there a need for skilled tradesmen? Absolutely. I think that's why some people may be pushing their kids in that direction. But I think, it depends on your kid. Some kids are college bound, some kids are not. And I think you need to push it based on the child. Like, hey, you probably do better as a trade, where you can get hands-on learning and blah, blah, blah. Or you can do better in college because, hey, who doesn't need doctors and attorneys and good attorneys? When you, and like really good attorneys, when you see the shit, again, non-political conversation, when you see what's being turned out in the law field these days, it's kind of like, what law school did you go to? And maybe you need an ethics course in law. So I think it depends on the kid, and I agree. I don't think it's fair to encourage your kid to explore one over the other. It's going to depend on them. If you need an understanding on why we are deciding to do this special series that we honestly think can take on a life of its own, we didn't want to put on it. We were thinking about trying putting on another podcast. We were like, oh, maybe not. But this is only going to be available on YouTube. So if you're not following us on YouTube, you have got to follow us because that's where this is going to be. That's where the episodes are going to live. And it's going to be on a special playlist just dedicated to this. So you have got to get over on YouTube and make sure that you're following us. We always do a season wrap. And this is our season wrap. And usually it's a little bit more lighthearted. Sorry. But we wanted you to understand this is why we are creating this series, because it's important to us as women of color and mom who are raising the next generation. So while this might feel a little bit heavier and it wasn't intended by any means, in explaining what this series is going to be about, it's really hard to not talk about the reasonings as to why we want to go in create this special series.
I agree.
Yeah. So thank you for sticking with us. Happy season 3 finale. Again, right? Make sure you are following us on YouTube and, of course, Facebook and TikTok. We don't know how long TikTok's going to be around for. TikTok ban 2.0. We don't know. But where these episodes will live, this series is going to live only on YouTube. So make sure you're following us there. So thank you, everyone who supported us in season 3. We really appreciate you. We hope that we don't really care if you like this series, if you don't like the content, but we know there's people out there who this will be important to. I'm just saying, like, I don't give a shit if you are, oh, there's too much of us already. We're trying to take away the wokeness. This ain't about being fucking woke, people. This is about being educated. And we are trying to educate ourselves, and we want to share that process with you. There it is.
I love it. I'm excited about it. I feel like it's needed. And yeah, maybe we could even have some guests too. Anybody that's in any history majors, anyone that's a big history buff, or
Absolutely.
any black women. I know of a few.
Like educators.
Black
Educate
right,
us, yo. Educate us. We here for it.
that
Okay.
part. Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Girl, I heard that.
Yeah.
You hungry?
A little bit.
I love you. Okay, we wrap this up.
Yeah.
I heard that shit. I heard that. I was like, oh, okay, let's have it along here. We appreciate each and every one that tunes in, listens, gives feedback, adds to our growth. And please don't stop, because we are still going to be doing the live sessions. However, that schedule may still be in place or change, who knows? But never without notification. We're always going to notify everybody way far in advance if we have to change from our usual Sundays at 6 p.m. And we are always looking for guests. We do have season 4 and, our projects with our history, right? So we do have, so we never know where we could fit that interview or that episode in at. So by all means, reach out to us if you have any ideas. If you want to be a guest, we do not discuss politics.
We discuss facts. Oh, I just tooted.
All I heard was facts. I didn't hear that part. We discussed facts. I did not.
Because you heard the stomach growl. I'm like, oh my God, I think
we get facts. And laughing, and I was like, what? Okay. I didn't hear it. You should just kept quiet. You just kept quiet before I didn't realize you did it.
I thought you heard it because you heard my stomach growling. I was like,
Mm-mm.
oh shit. Okay. It was louder.
Mm-mm.
Hey, pull it together.
Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
It's like when you laugh
I
and you
didn't see
silently pee by accident. I was too embarrassed.
Like, oh, my bad. Oop.
Oh my God. Oh, it's such
Girl.
no.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear it. Like, I really didn't. I just heard you say fact.
All right.
That was funny.
We don't talk politics, but we do talk facts. And that's our goal.
Right. Nothing but truth. And what I think is a part of our
authenticity.
We are not at all afraid of facing the facts.
Yeah.
Facing the truth. Truth is, certain things do not need to be swept under the rug.
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to preparing our future. You cannot send our children out here in the cold unprepared
Absolutely not.
because it's a cold ass world. And I'm not sending mine out here unprepared.
Absolutely.
Period.
So that is why we are turning into this venture here, but we appreciate all the support, allowing us to be part of your daily routine or on Mondays and Sundays. Sundays and Mondays.
Whenever you listen, whenever you get a chance to listen.
Very true, very true. So we appreciate all of our longtime listeners who are with us through season 3. We look forward to, of course, season 4 and continuing you guys sticking with us through, our lives and our new special series that we are bringing forth. Thank you.
All right.